So Britain's most elite fighting force, the SAS, the literal tip of the spear, is haemorrhaging experienced operators worse than old Nige loses working class voters the second he announces another Tory defect and foreign reform candidate.
What, are you retarded?
Apparently, senior warrant officers, the absolute backbone of the regiment, are walking out on principle because they're terrified of being dragged through endless witch hunts by human rights lawyers over Afghanistan and Syria ops. 2 whole squadrons are affected. Morale is in the toilet. Insiders are openly calling it a direct threat to national security. Folks, I honestly don't know what to make of this clown country anymore. I mean, you've got battle-hardened killers who have done more for this nation in a single tour than most politicians will do in a lifetime, and they're choosing to leave because their own government clearly hates them. And why? Because they're mostly straight white men who actually want to win wars instead of filling out diversity quotas and worrying about whether their after-action report might get them prosecuted 20 years later. This is what happens when you let activist lawyers, woke generals and leftist politicians run the military. Standards get lowered, DEI gets forced down everyone's throat, and the best fighters are treated like potential war criminals, whilst the top brass virtue signals some bollocks about inclusion. I mean, no wonder the SAS is bleeding talent. When your own side treats you like the enemy, why the hell would you stay and risk your life or your freedom for him?
No, he's got a point.
And sadly, this isn't just the military, this is the same cultural cancer spreading everywhere. I mean, Jesus, just look at Boeing, the poster child for corporate DEI gone mad. They've spent years pushing performative all-female pilot crews and lowering standards to hit BAME hiring quotas for engineers and mechanics. Merit? Competence? Nah mate, diversity is a new safety metric. And the result? Doors literally blowing off planes mid-flight, wheels falling off during takeoff, and a string of near misses and crashes that have everyone wondering if they're about to become the next bloody statistic.
Fuck.
The same company that once built the most reliable aircraft on Earth is now falling apart because they prioritise chocolatey checkboxes over people who actually know how to bolt a bloody plane together. And this is just the wider pattern. Everywhere you look, the same ideology. Replace the competent with the compliant, punish the capable for being the wrong skin colour or the wrong sex, and then have a shocked Pikachu face when everything starts breaking down worse than a misgendered liberal. Infrastructure crumbling, talented teachers forced out of classrooms, and the cretins in charge still insist the real problem is not enough diversity.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
And you know, if I didn't know better, this looks like deliberate, calculated hollowing out of the British military. Demoralise the best lads with false DEI quotas and endless witch hunts, so they're too scared to carry out basic duties for fear of ending up in court decades later, being asked why they did a bunch of hate crimes against brown people, all for a government salary and pension or some shit. And that way, when the inevitable civil unrest finally kicks off in these islands, there won't be a based AF battle-hardened patriotic fighting force strapped up to the fucking gills, ready to defend the besieged native population, or turn their corrupt weapons on the corrupt officials who've spent the last 20 years waging demographic and cultural war on their own people in their own homeland. Cynical? Well, maybe. But without a proud and moral military, there'll obviously be no one left to save us or hold the regime to account. They'll simply replace them with compliant patsies and regime loyalists who are fully on board with the globo homo libtard agenda. Man, this really is a national security disaster in slow motion. A demoralised, distrusted military is a weak military. You can't really defend a nation with a force that knows its own government is just waited to hang it out to dry the very second some activist decides today's hero is tomorrow's defendant. And folks, this is exactly why we need Rupert Lowe as Prime Minister like bloody yesterday. We need a patriotic leader who actually respects the military. A government that tells the SAS, yeah, we got your back, come what may, instead of throwing them to the bloody wolves. A country that values fighting men over feelings, standards over quotas, and glorious victory over empty performative virtue signalling. Because right now, the people running Britain seem more interested in punishing straight white soldiers and ticking diversity boxes than remotely in protecting the realm. Yep, the orcs aren't just at the gate, folks. They're running the Ministry of Defence and bloody boardrooms.